Welcome to episode 3 of PodChamp, the podcast that gives you 100% of your weekly recommended intake of news and views about streaming, gaming, and internet culture. In today's cast, we'll start with our weekly segment, I've Been Playing, a review of the games that we've been playing this week, following that up with Blizzard's new eSports arena, a discussion about the progression of eSports in the mainstream and what this might mean long-term for streaming and gaming at large. Our main topic today is mental and physical health in streaming. Do streamers wear themselves too thin in the pursuit of the dream of streaming success? Lastly, we will round the podcast out with a discussion about the new trend of official mini retro consoles. Are they any good, and should you buy one? I'm your host, Quigabyte, mild-mannered and as grey as they come. This week, I've been playing, and to no one's surprise, Hearthstone. So since I've really not been playing anything interesting, I'm going to give a few shout-outs to some streamers I've been watching recently instead. First up, Jellygator, and I think Alex introduced me to this streamer, but she seems to be a small streamer who plays a lot of Overwatch. Really, I've been watching her for her sense of humor, and she has a very relaxing voice, but she's very funny. The other streamer I've been watching is Starlet Blossom, who's a British Twitch partner and variety streamer. She's a little bit odd, but I really like her quirky sense of humor, and she's followed by her loyal pigeons. Lastly, and probably the person I've been watching the most this week is Alex the Ginger. So he's a familiar voice to listeners of this podcast. He's a small streamer with a production quality that exceeds that of many of the largest Twitch partners, in my opinion anyway. So he makes me laugh, so I'm calling him out here today. Now, let's introduce you to the interesting people on this cast in the order of my choosing. First up, it's our resident British gamer with his signature dry humor. It's Rux.
So I haven't actually played anything that's been released within like the last 5 years because all I've been doing is playing like really bad, awful PC games. So
which bad, awful PC games have you been playing, Rux?
I've got a problem, and that problem is Football Manager 2011. I don't know why, but I play this one for no reason whatsoever. I literally play it when I'm bored. It makes me more bored. I don't understand it. I need to go to someone, I think.
You need to go to someone to talk about your...
It's basically like watching someone do an Excel sheet and then like having fun with it.
You know what it reminds me of, Rux, when you say that? It reminds me of the way I use Reddit. So I'll be on Reddit and I'll be browsing. I'm like, I'm bored of Reddit now. So I'll open a new tab and go to Reddit again.
Yeah, I mean... I've been playing Rocket League, but all they do is shout at my friends because they're useless.
Yeah, I haven't played Rocket League for quite a while, but I'm absolutely terrible at that game, but I do enjoy it. All right, moving on. He's recently been quipping his way to success on Twitch. His humor is questionable, but his hair is not. It's Alex the Ginger.
Quick, I hope you don't think that I forgot about that little plug earlier. I'm going to kiss you on the mouth. So get ready. It's coming. Oh, boy. So this week, I took a risk, as I sometimes do, and I downloaded the Star Wars Battlefront 2 beta. And I discovered two things. One is that the visual fidelity in that game is just top-notch. Like, it looks so good. And it's if you're not paying attention, you can miss the great details. But even things like flurries of leaves blowing along the ground on Naboo are just top-notch. Like, it's next level how good that game looks.
I was watching you play that. I was just fascinated by the leaves, like mesmerized with them moving around.
It's really crazy. And you can't look too close because then you see stuff like there's just like doves flying out of the ground to like John Woo everything. But aside from that, it looks amazing. And in the way that like you're the robots on Naboo attacking the palace and they're like, Roger, Roger, like they're doing that whole thing. It's so immersive and it's so great and it's so beautiful. But the other thing that I recognized is that I am so bad at that game. I'm so awful at Star Wars Battlefront. I'm normally pretty good at shooters. I would say shooters are kind of my forte, but I just floundered in incredible fashion in this game. I don't know if I'll wind up picking it up, but I like what I see. It might not be for me, but I dig it.
So are there multiple maps on that game right now, or is it just the one? Because I've only seen people playing that same one that you were playing.
So it looks like right now the map rotation is very specifically limited to that one, at least for the mode that I was playing. Because I was playing the modes that are available right now. There's a 40 by 40 man, so it's like a 20 versus 20. And then there's one that's space battle, so it's all just flying the ships. I didn't even bother. I don't care. And then there's also one that I guess was supposed to be a 12-player mode, I think, and that's supposed to be more like a Counter-Strike. So one attacking, one defending, kind of like a smaller objective base, that kind of thing. I haven't really explored it, but only one map was available for the 40-man. And it's a nice map, and I like it a lot. But yeah, it's a game that I think I really need to readjust my whole frame of thinking in order to play it properly.
Yeah, I think I could see myself playing that as well. It looked pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I think the beta, today's the, yeah, I think the beta has a one more day in it. So I might, after we're done recording, I might log back in, see if I can use a controller, and then maybe because it feels like a controller game. Like all the old Battlefronts were console games. Maybe if I put in a controller, it'll be just right. But yeah, it's worth a look at least.
All right, she's got the voice of an angel, the hair of a goddess, and makes a mean curry. It's Starfish.
All right. I'm a little bit fake gamer girl this week. I've played 0 game. I was traveling all week for work and basically sleeping that whole week off the rest of the weekend. So I have played none. But what I would like to do is talk about I'd like to talk about a book I've been reading, or rather
I'm
a
sorry,
trilogy.
a what?
A book.
Well,
It's
What's
can you-
that?
Ancient technology to entertain and spike the imagination. So I will recommend the Incubation trilogy by Laura de Silverio. That's very good.
What's the book about?
It is a post-apocalyptic society that's gone, as most of those books do, in a very authoritarian way. And there's some young adults who are fighting against the man, I guess, and fighting also at the same time to save humanity from all of these various issues.
That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. A desert scribe, Twitch streamer and gamer, she's fashion forward, has experience in escaping from rooms, and is queen of the podcast, It's Anchor.
A desert scribe, huh?
Did you like that?
I do. Well, I too have not had a chance to play any new games this week, but as per usual, I have been playing a lot of The Sims 4, and I actually just started a challenge today called the Not So Berry Challenge. And basically, this is a color-coordinated Sims Legacy Challenge. So similar to other Sims Legacy challenges, but each generation represents a different color, and each generation goes through different career and lifetime aspirations in the game. And it's really cool because it's basically encouraging longtime Sims players to maybe try some careers or lifetime aspirations that they've never tried before. Because, you know, you have like your go-to favorites, but maybe you've never made a genius vegetarian jealous sim, and like now you have the opportunity to do so in like challenge format. So it's really fun so far.
Very interesting. All right, a man who flirts with all the games because he can't decide which one he really wants. He's Canadian, he's hot, and he's on this cast. It's Gigantus.
Wow, that's a sweet intro. Well, actually, your description was pretty spot on for this week because I've played like 3 different games. I've played Fortnite, the new Battle Royale mode, because I wanted to try it and see how it compared to PUBG. And it's pretty good. It's like a Disney version of PUBG, but it's pretty fun. I had fun getting destroyed. Actually, you can probably catch that on Anchor Stream if you go to the VODs. And the other 2 games I've played are South Park, The Stick of Truth, and Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, because I'm just want to like kind of play the games again before the sequels comes out. So the Shadow of War is coming out this Tuesday, and South Park The Fractured Butthole is coming I think next Tuesday. So not Tuesday this week, but the one after that. So 2 very nice games coming up pretty soon, and I'm just trying to catch up so I can play the new games.
Did you play the first South Park game?
I sure have.
You know what? I have never played that game, but I've watched a few streams of it, and it seems pretty hilarious.
It's so funny, man. It actually like it's pretty challenging in certain parts because it is a like turn-based RPG combat game still, and of course the focus is on the comedy, but it's still pretty challenging in some parts. But yeah, it's so funny, and I can't wait for the new game.
Yeah. Maybe you should stream it. Maybe you should start streaming.
I should maybe I should start with maybe something I'm more comfortable at, something like something like Hearthstone or something like that. But yeah, it's in the projects for sure.
There you go. All right, let's start with our first topic, Blizzard's new esports arena. Back in early September, it was widely reported that Blizzard would be opening their own esports arena since they've been unhappy with the quality of the arenas they've used for their tournaments. For their tournaments of StarCraft, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch. At that time, we didn't have a lot of information available. This week, however, Blizzard unveiled and officially opened its new esports arena. Situated in Burbank, California, and, random fact, it's actually in the studio that Johnny Carson's Tonight Show was filmed in. Blizzard describes this new arena as a cutting-edge live event destination for pro players, esports fans, and everyone who loves premier competition. It also features multiple auditoriums that will house guest players and casters and has a similar layout to really most esports league arenas. I actually couldn't find any specs on exactly how big it is or how many people it seats, but it is going to be used for the preseason play of the Overwatch League and will continue into the regular season at the beginning of 2018. Starfish, you raise your hand here.
I've got some stats for you, actually. It's a 450 seat arena with 3 big screens so that everyone can see.
Okay, all right. Thank you for those stats. So for anyone watching the YouTube video, I will add some images as well into the recording so you can see some of the pictures of the arena. The last piece of information I have about this is that the building also contains a gift shop to exit through and a Hall of Champions. So what do we think about this? What do we think about Blizzard building its own esports arena?
So my first thought is that when I hear arena, I think more than 450 seats. Not to like hold it against them or anything, but it's a start, right? It's a little bit of a validation of what esports is. And there's some places like this already. There's some in Southern California that are like designated specifically for esports events, and Blizzard's used them in the past for things like Hearthstone expansion releases, things like that. They've shown off the new content there. They've had like, Trump and Amaz show up and do play matches, things like that. So it's cool to see Blizzard finally invest in one of their own, but this is really just a jumping off point. The way I see it is that eventually we're going to see, if the Overwatch League really takes off, we might see venues like this in all the cities that have an Overwatch team. Since there's going to be a team, I believe there's one in Dallas. We've got quite a few on the West Coast. There's one over in Shanghai now. It would be amazing to see each of these locations, each of these cities have their own dedicated arena for the team that their city hosts. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rux, did you have a comment about this?
Honestly, it sounds like a Disneyland ride. Like, you go to the attraction, you come off, you go to the shop at the end, get your photo.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit of a weird way to like analyze it, but like Alex said, arena's a very weird word to use for it. It's more like a stage with TVs on it.
I think they just use that word though, just to make a comparison to sports though. That's just it. Because when you think of arenas, you don't think there's gonna be an Overwatch tournament in there or a Hearthstone tourney or whatever. I think they just use that term to like just think it more like a sport. It feels a bit odd, but I think that was the intent behind it.
I would have to agree. I definitely think with the emergence of more and more esports, I think we'll start to see words like arena and stuff like that being used in the gaming sphere as well.
I mean, as a general sports fan, just if you're saying you're building an arena and then you're like, oh, it's only got 450 seats,
Yeah, I mean that's true.
it just sounds like a massive joke,
Yeah, it just sounds a bit
like a waste of time.
like the auditorium of your high school or something. But
I mean, people that are into esports and know about it. Sorry for interrupting you, by the way.
no problem, no problem.
Will understand that 450 seats is enough, and it's not like sports today that have been going for like a century or so.
Yeah,
But
that's for sure.
it just sounds really underwhelming to people who aren't interested in esports.
I guess it'll just be interesting to see like what comes of it exactly. Like I kind of want to see it in action, you know?
Well, you'll
Like
see
that-
it soon. You'll see it soon.
Yeah.
I think is it tomorrow or this week for the Overwatch, like, I don't know, qualifiers, I guess.
Today.
Today, yeah.
Been used today.
Yeah, it's the today was the finals of Overwatch Contenders, which is like the minor league for the Overwatch Major League. So a lot of esports organizations and even kind of some independents have teams in the Overwatch Contenders League, and the Contenders did their finals today at the big arena. And that arena is ultimately where I guess the entire season for the Overwatch League is going to be hosted. So we're going to see the teams, the what are they called? The Dallas Fuel, which by the way is an awful name. Who decided?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
What in the world? Shanghai got dragons? Are you for real? Yeah, so it'll be great to see all those teams playing there. And then so we'll if you're a viewer of competitive Overwatch, you're probably going to see a lot of it in the very near future.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of you actually watch esports. I'll be honest with you. I usually watch esports when there's some kind of really good Hearthstone competition going, and they have some good casters on there that are pretty funny.
That's surprising of you, man. I would never have imagined you'd watch Hearthstone's tourney.
You wouldn't think so? Not of me, no. But like I've been watching a little bit of the October Brawl, which is pretty funny. Although some of the commentary from the hosts there, the casters there, are a little bit cringy, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, for sure. I actually watch it more than I was trying to think of that before we started the podcast. I think I watch it more than I thought I did. Basically, whenever there's a big Blizzard event, I'm gonna be watching it. So I'll watch some of the events right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited actually because the final of the October Brawl is going to be at Long Beach at a TwitchCon. So Starfish and I will be there to see the final in person.
Lucky me.
So does anyone else watch any esports?
I wish I kept up with it more, honestly. I tune in. It's the sort of thing that I watch when it's convenient. Like I'll be on Twitch and I'll have nothing to watch, and I'll just discover by happenstance that, oh, look, there's an Overwatch tournament on. And it's great that, I don't know if you guys ever see this too often, but Twitch very regularly will tweet out a map, or not a map, but like a calendar of all the tournaments that are going on throughout the week. And there's one like every day. So one day it'll be Dota, and one day it'll be League of Legends, and one day it'll be CSGO, and then Overwatch, and then Hearthstone, and then some other card game like Gwent or something. And then so there's basically something to watch every single day. And a lot of these tournaments even start, in off-peak time for the US. So they're foreign tournaments. They're taking place in Europe, or they're taking place in Asia. And so almost around the clock, if you want to watch esports or something on. And I'm glad we've gotten to that point where there's always something to watch no matter what time it is.
Also, another interesting point, we just talked about that just before we started recording, actually. Do you guys ever think Blizzard will open up their arena for other esports competition or just their own game?
Yeah, and one of the articles I read said that they hadn't ruled it out, but initially it was just going to be for Blizzard games. However, I just really can't see them opening it up to other games. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but
Maybe if it was something they didn't have like a direct game competitor to, like they wouldn't open it up to something where Overwatch was the direct competitor or Hearthstone was the direct competitor. But I could see if there was some other game that they didn't have like a direct game that competes with it, maybe they would.
Well, remember that Blizzard is only half of the Activision Blizzard family. So if you're Activision and you're hosting events for Call of Duty or anything like that, there's a lot of potential there to take advantage of that space for that as well. And Call of Duty still actually has, I think, not as prominent of a circuit as far as esports is concerned, but it still makes the rounds.
I was just going to say that's actually a really good point, and I hadn't thought about that. The Activision, being Activision Blizzard, would potentially use it for some of their games. And that's actually a really good point, considering that. What is it? Is it Destiny 2? Is that the game that just launched in the Blizzard launcher?
Yep, I was just gonna say that actually. Yeah, maybe they'll use it for that since I think, is it exclusive? Can you only get Destiny 2 through the Blizzard launcher? I think so, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see these kind of games in their arena, but like anything that is a direct competitor to them, like Gwent, that is competitor to Hearthstone or things like that, I don't think we'll see any of this happening in their arena.
Even then, I don't think they would even want to. Can you imagine watching a Gwent tournament and then everybody who came to see your tournament has to parade through the Blizzard gallery of tchotchkes before they can leave?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, besides me ripping on the size of it will actually be easy to sustain as well because it's really small. Well, small being figurative, but you know what I mean.
It's worth pointing out it might even be multi-purpose from a internally Blizzard perspective. Like I'll give my full disclosure. I worked for Blizzard for about 6 years, and one of the things that they would do very regularly is have events for various showings. Like one example is they would have quarterly meetings. It might have been quarterly, it might have been more than that, but they would get together all the development teams and they talk about what they're working on, and they would also talk about other things. And so they should have a place on campus, on the Blizzard campus, to do those kinds of showings, but they could use it for other similarly internal corporate events, things that aren't necessarily public facing, but you still want a nice venue to meet up at, like a game launch or something like that. Like if you've ever been to one of the big launches for like a World of Warcraft expansion, it's usually big to do, and the developers are there signing stuff. What better place to do that than your own big ass esports arena, right?
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, because if that's their purpose, if they want to use it only as an esports arena, they're using the sports terminology for it. So in a sports arena, you don't only get like the host team getting their games there, you get other events too. So I think we'll eventually see other events than only Blizzard games at their arena, but not in the near future.
Okay, so now we'll move on to our main segment. Our main topic today is mental and physical health in streaming. Alex, do you want to take it from here?
I sure would. A Kotaku article from earlier this year tells the story of streamer Pause Hybrid, who was in the 22nd hour of his charity stream raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation when he took a smoke break, which he would never return from. Not unaccustomed to day-long streams, his viewers assumed that he might have simply fallen asleep, until it was revealed the next day that the Virginia Beach Police Department was investigating his untimely death. Streamers are often willing to wear themselves thin in pursuit of a career as a Twitch streamer, both physically and mentally, but candid reflection on the lives that streamers lead is uncommon. Whether it's the physical strain that can come from day-long streams and energy drink diets, or the emotional weight of making yourself available to the world around the clock, it's easy for an unprepared streamer to compromise their well-being, and the temptation to stay competitive in a crowd of other broadcasters basically guarantees these problems will persist. This week, we'll discuss streamers and their health. Do streamers go too far in the pursuit of success, and do viewers ask too much of their favorite casters? How can we stream responsibly and lead lives that allow us to keep the show going? And I can say this actually hits really close to home for me recently because I've had on the brain all these things that I want to do. So I stream more than I used to. This is actually, and I was looking at my stats right before we started recording. This is the first time ever that I've streamed 8 days in a row, 8 days back to back. I've gone live at least some point, at least streamed for a few hours. So I've probably streamed about maybe 40 hours, maybe more over the course of, the past 8 days. And while doing that, I also have a part-time job and I'm looking for other jobs and I'm trying to make money on the side. So even trying to just make a living and become a streamer, it's very easy to get kind of wrapped up and burn the candle at both ends. So Anchor, I know you've got a lot of stuff in mind about this. Where do you think we should kick this off?
Well, this is a pretty big topic. I mean, hence it being our main topic. But I definitely think that there's pressure to stream marathon streams, whether it be 12 to 24-hour streams, subathons where casters sometimes go up to 24 hours. I think that is a big part of Twitch culture, and I'm not sure where that started exactly. But I definitely think it's a big part of Twitch, and it's a big part of being a broadcaster. Me personally, the longest I have ever streamed was 16 hours, and that was a real push. It was a challenge. I was up until almost 4 in the morning, and the last 2 hours was rough. I don't even know if I was coherent during those last couple of hours, which begs the question, does the quality of your stream suffer after a certain point as well?
Yeah, I've thought about that myself. Like at the point where you're streaming for a day, like if I go longer than maybe 5 or 6 hours, I start to feel like the quality, my ability to be interesting or compelling or keep up with chat, and even with as small a chat as I have, it feels like that very quickly deteriorates. So really, is it a quantity over quality sort of thing, where it's less about the streamer and more about the spectacle, and we somehow, I guess, fetishize that spectacle as something that's attractive in a streamer? Like do people actually want 24-hour streams? That's the question in my mind. Like, is there anybody here who is super into 24-hour streams?
Well, the only person who I really watch that does 24-hour streams with some consistency is Yui, and she actually does one 24-hour stream per month. So one Friday out of every month, she will do a 24-hour stream. And as far as I know, she's always completed them. I don't think I've ever seen that she like maybe hasn't been able to go for the whole 24 hours or something. And I guess there's, a big question there is, how the heck do you do that? Because I sure couldn't do it. But her 24-hour streams are great. She plays a variety of different games. She takes breaks for food and does, maybe she'll go to social eating for a little bit and have a meal, and it's a blast. But I've also been in some 24-hour streams where the streamer just struggles at a certain point and they're just tired, and you can tell they're not having as good of a time as they were 15 hours before that. So it might just be your personality as a streamer as well. I'm not sure. I know I can't do 24 hours. It's just not in the cards for me. But
yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because from a viewer point of view, when people talk about potentially doing 24-hour streams, you see a lot of people in chat are suddenly like 24 hours PodChamp, or if you say you're doing a 12-hour stream, they want you to do 24 hours, and there's a lot of jokes about it. From my point of view, I'm not going to watch a 24-hour stream. I'm not going to sit there for 24 hours and watch a single stream. That's just not going to happen. And I don't know why it is, why everyone gets so excited about it. I guess because they love the streamer. It's something different. It's something exciting. And they're not thinking about the health of their favorite streamer. They're just thinking this is something cool.
Yeah. And I think too, this might be a little dark, but I think there's this weird fascination with like watching people struggle through like a 24-hour stream or through even a game on Twitch. This is why like Dark Souls marathon, I think Moon just did the I want to be the Bashi games, and like these really hard where you're gonna die like 1,200 times in the game is for some reason like really fascinating to some people. I think Anchor, you wanted to add something to it.
Yeah, well, it's a spectacle, I think, is what it is. And I think not saying it's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but on Twitch, I think things that are a spectacle are attractive to people, whether someone's playing a really hard game or they've been streaming for 24 plus hours. Like, again, like you said, I don't think they're thinking about the person's physical health, like the fact they've been sitting in a chair for over a day or something, but they're like, wow, they're streaming for this huge long period of time. That's amazing. Like, I think it's more of the spectacle of the thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think people just like watching. Well, it gives a good show, that's for sure, but I think people have to go like a bit beyond that and just start thinking about there's also like health issues related to this and this kind of either like 24-hour stream or those kinds of long marathon streams. So but yeah, I agree with you. I think they're gonna watch because it's a good show. It's fun to watch for sure.
So I touched on this a little bit in the intro, but one thing that I think really makes these trends pervasive, they're kind of self-fulfilling in the sense that or they kind of cause themselves to reoccur in the sense that people who are trying to make it on Twitch, and I think this is mostly true people just starting out, but people who are trying to make it on Twitch want to find the way to get there without the grind. And to them, the grind is the passage of time. So it's like, well, I could get partnered in like a year and a half, which is what I've known some people to do, is get partnered in that amount of time. But think of all the time that's going to take and all the streaming I'm going to have to do. What if instead of doing that, I just do crazy streams that people can't help but watch? Like I stream for a day, or I do X, or I do Y. Really, from the streamer perspective, it's people chasing that secret to making it, because that's what they want. They want to hit the milestone where they make it, and then streaming is just a thing that they do. You know what I mean? Like they want to. It's like, if I put in all this grind now, I'll hit the peak. I'll reach the plateau where now I'm a successful streamer, and then I can just run it however I want to. And so they're willing to make those sacrifices up front to make it happen. And the truth is if anything is perceived as being a draw to a stream, people are going to do that to try to get ahead. Like if somebody started a trend where like you shaved off all your hair on stream, if you lost a game of PUBG, you would see hundreds of totally shaved heads tomorrow. It would happen, guaranteed. All Dr. Disrespect has got to do is go like, all right, next time I lose a game, and then all of a sudden you're going to see everybody doing it, because that's what they think they have to do to be successful. And the truth is that that's not true. It's all misconception, right? Like, you don't have to sacrifice yourself to be successful on Twitch, but I think people get the impression that you do.
Like, it's so normalized, right? Because there's so many people who do like the 24-hour streams, or maybe they do a charity stream where they shave their head if they get to this certain plateau, which I have seen. And that's, okay, if that's really what you want to do to reward your milestones or your community, that's fine. But do it safely.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
There's a way to do it, and there's not a way to do it. I get that it's like maybe a big boost. It's the same thing with streamers doing drunk streams, really and truly. If they're advertising that, woohoo, next Friday we're getting lit. Okay, cool, but don't let people give you 20 shots in the first 10 minutes because you're gonna die, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something you hit on. Something I was going to come back to as well, is it's not always just the length of the stream, it's the things that are happening within that stream, right? And drunk streams is one of the things, or drinking streams is one of the things that I was going to go back to as well. So, and it seems to be a little less pervasive than it was. And I think maybe Twitch have clarified a little bit that that's really not what they like to see. But it seemed for a while everybody was doing streams where, hey, you donate a small amount of money and I'll take another shot,
See, the secret is you should just be drinking during every stream and not advertise it like me.
Oh boy.
Which is fair.
That's how you really get ahead on Twitch. But while we're on the topic, I wanted to bring up, I remembered an article that I had seen from time to time, and it bears disclosure that this article is sponsored by Energizer batteries for some reason.
Okay.
But it's a post, it's an interview of streamer Elahheim. I think most of us probably heard of Elahheim. He apparently, oh yeah, that's like the exact, oh no, this is a different one. The one I've got is one on, it's from Kotaku. It's called Meet the Superstar Twitch Streamer Who Breathes Deep to Stream Late, I believe. To stay up late, I'm sorry. And so he talks in here about how he handles 24-hour streams. And there's a list here, I guess, of his... Oh, well, we're going to skip that because number 5 in this list of tips is stock up on Energizer Ultimate Lithium AA batteries. But he says... so here's a question. You've already spoken at length about safe, responsible marathon streaming. What are your biggest tips for a healthy marathon? You've got to go to the doctor. You have to go and at least get checked out to make sure that you're okay to stay for 24 hours. You want to make sure you've got a clean bill of health so that when you push yourself physically, you're ready to do it. And apparently he also prescribes, or he subscribes to the notion of deep breathing, like deep breathing for like relaxation, kind of centering the body and help you keep fit. So really and I agree with this idea that for some people, 24-hour streams make sense, and Anchor kind of touched on this, but it's the kind of thing that you can't just do. You can't do on a whim. You've got to prepare for. And I think people don't have the deliberateness sometimes to really protect themselves from what they could be doing themselves when they push their body to limits that it's not ready to be pushed to. By the way, this podcast is brought to you by Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
You wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just see if we can get them as a sponsor.
So, Energizer, if you're listening and you would like to sponsor this stream, go to Twitter. It's PodChamp, PodCast. Hit us up.
Energizer batteries, they just keep your 24-hour stream going and going and going.
The other thing I was going to mention was, what about long-term health? So we've been talking a little bit about doing a single long stream or something like that. But Alex, you talked about you've been streaming more. You've done 8 days in a row, and I know that some streamers stream every single day. Some do a normal work week, 5 days and 2 days off. But there are some who stream every single day, and some that stream a lot of hours, and that's got to affect both physical and mental health, I would think.
It is, and it makes it rough, I think, to pursue the dream of being a full-time streamer. It makes it really hard because if you want to make it as a streamer, you can't just, put on B level streams every single day. You've got to be bringing your A game. And if you're trying to do the stream thing, so you stream a lot, and then you also work a full-time job, and then maybe, who knows, maybe you got a family, you've got people that you take care of, all that together, it doesn't really leave any time for you. So unless you're the kind of person who just every time you stream, you have a blast and you could do it as much as you wanted and you would feel A-okay, it's not sustainable for a lot of people. It wasn't sustainable for me. Like I've been very carefully considering how I'm going to dial everything back. And it's easier said than done. It's definitely easier said than done. So I have big respect for the people who can kind of have it all, who can work the full-time job and stream full-time and still, be on top of the rest of their lives, stay fit, eat well. If you can eat well and stay fit and basically work 2 jobs, then I salute you. But I think for most people it's not easy. And in spite of that, there's a temptation to just push it. Like you see, like a Lethal Frag, he was like really the first guy to do like I'm going to stream every day for a year, and he did it. But I think he was in a unique situation that enabled him to do that in a way that was healthy for him. And I believe he had a wife to support him through that as well. So not everybody can say the same.
Yeah, and I know I don't stream a lot. As everybody makes a joke, I stream twice a year, and that's pretty close to the truth. But in the occasions that I do stream, it really is, at least I put a lot of effort into that, and it's exhausting, and I don't stream very long. So I have a lot of respect, for example, for you, Alex, because you bring your A game every stream. You're making people laugh. You put a lot of effort into it. I can see the production quality. Hey, we're back to me just saying how awesome your streams are again. But
tell me more. Tell me more.
So, someone putting that level of effort in every day, that is probably even more effort than an average office job, to do all the preparation to actually then do the stream and again, eat, sleep, stay fit. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, and the thing you have to remember about being a streamer, which I'm not, so I'm definitely the authority here. But it's not just you get on and you stream and you get off and you're done, because you're doing marketing, you're doing planning, you're doing production work. There's all of these other pieces that go into it. So if you're streaming full time and you're working full time, you probably also have another full time job with the production type work, and you gotta sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that especially newer streamers don't think about is that depending on the type of stream that you have, you might do as much work off the stream as you do on the stream. And that's the truth. Really, for me, streaming feels like the easy part because I turn it on and I play a game that I already wanted to play, and then I talk to my friends that I like talking to. But off stream, you do things like you're setting up your emotes and you're tuning up all your little panels below the stream, or you're setting up your Discord or moderating that, or doing a million other different things, and it can add up.
Well, and I think too, it's not streaming really could be a full-time job in and of itself, even if you're only streaming a couple of days a week. Again, with the production and networking and things that you do when you're not live, it really can be like a full-time job, but without the benefits that you would get from an actual, like, let's say, full-time office job. You're getting paid time off and benefits and all these things from that full-time office job that you aren't necessarily just given on Twitch. So really the key is knowing when you need a break and knowing when you need to, take a weekend off, either for mental or physical health. And I think that's a big part of it, is knowing your limits, and really just making sure that you can continue to have fun with it and give those good quality streams. And maybe that's what is necessary after a while, is just a break so that you can kind of recharge.
I was going to say
Energizer battery.
exactly right. Exactly. And I was going to say, I think it was, and I apologize if I get this wrong, but I think it was Lyric recently who, and I believe I'm right on this, that he took a day off and he had a whole bunch of people bitch at him for taking a day off. And so he banned a whole bunch of his subs from his stream, because he was, I think he was taking a mental day off or something like that. And he said, I don't care who you are. You pay me $5.99 a month or whatever it is. You don't own me. I need to take care of myself. So I thought that was interesting. And if it's not Lyric, I apologize if you're listening, which I really hope you're listening.
Well, that's the thing that's great about being Lyric, I imagine, is that he has the luxury to do that. Most streamers wouldn't dare ban a sub because that's your lifeblood.
Right.
Like if you're a Moon and you've got 15,000 subs and 1,000 of those subs are giving you $25 a month, you can ban a few guys who are being total assholes to set an example. But if you're a streamer that maybe has 50 viewers and you maybe have, if you're lucky, 20 or 30 subs, well, you're probably not living on that sub money, but at that point, probably every dollar counts. So you don't want to go, putting people on the chopping block. So that can be a big emotional and mental strain as well. It's like moderating that experience with people in your community who maybe you don't see eye to eye with, but to a certain extent you're financially dependent on.
At the same time, and I can't speak from experience because I am lucky enough to only be surrounded by good, wholesome people who I believe genuinely care about me. So I luckily have not been in this position. But you also, I don't care if you're a big channel or a small channel, I don't think you should have to worry about that anyway. I mean, you may be financially dependent on your subscribers or the people that support your channel, but if they can't see it to give you a break, one day out of the hundreds of days that you stream in a year, you don't need those people around. They may pay you $4.99 a month, but they are hurting you so much more than that $5 could ever give to you if they're gonna rag on you for taking a day off.
Agreed. You cannot let yourself be, and like I said, it's easy for me to say, but you cannot let yourself be held hostage over $5 a month. I don't care how much you need the $5. It's not worth the mental strain to let yourself be held hostage over that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because an interesting point to talk about would be like when is it actually worth, like, I don't know how to say this, but like maybe just getting more tired or everything like that. Because I think Ash, you've done a few of those long streams. I don't know if Alex you did, but I'm guessing there's a financial like plus when you do these kinds of events, because as we talked earlier, more people want to watch it. So like, what's the fine line between like your health and getting more views / subscribers / people in your channel?
So that's the scary thing, I think, about going in really hard on these sort of gimmicks, is what I would call a 24-hour stream. In my mind, that's a gimmick. Doing that doesn't guarantee you any money at all. Like I could, hype it up for a month. I could say big 24-hour stream. Let's get lots of subs. Let's get lots of donations. Let's do this. Let's, stream family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I could set that up and get no subs and no donation for, all the time that I put in. And that's what makes it really stressful to try to go all in on streaming, is that there's opportunity costs associated with that. If I stream for a day, and maybe I have a good stream and maybe I don't, but if the goal is for me to grow the stream or, get some subs or, try to make the whole thing financially solvent, and I don't, that's 24 hours I could have spent doing anything else. I could have worked at a proper job, or, I could have done, odd jobs on, Craigslist, or, there's a lot of websites online that let you work from home and make money that way. So there's so many other avenues that I could have spent that time to try to keep myself above water, and I miss out on those because I tried to go out on the stream and it didn't work. So really trying to become a streamer, like starting from nothing and trying to grow it into something, has so much inherent risk baked into it. And the amount of stress that risk can put on you if you don't have the proper support infrastructure to make sure the bills are paid or any of that stuff, it can be sincerely really intimidating, very intimidating.
And I think maybe that is why, if you're new to marathon streaming and you have really never streamed longer than, let's say, your average session when you go live, just to start small and don't put that out there that, yes, I'm going to do a 24-hour stream, because a lot of people, if they say they're going to do a 24-hour stream and then they don't make it to 24 hours because they're just exhausted or they're hungry or they have a migraine because they've been staring at a computer screen for 15 hours or something, then people get very disappointed, like, oh, they didn't go 24 hours. Well, that's not necessarily the streamer's fault. But if you put it out there that, oh, I'm going to go for 6 hours and then we'll see how it goes. Or I know sometimes people do tip incentives or sub goals. If we hit a certain amount of subs, I'll add on, extra time and things like that. Starting small and then working up to something bigger, at least personally, that's what I have done. And I personally think 12 hours is an excellent length for a marathon stream. 12 hours is perfect for me personally. I have found that it does push me a little bit mentally and physically, but not to the point where I'm just broken at the end and I need to sleep for 3 days. And the benefit of that is during that time, usually I see a very large influx in followers, new people in the channel, because I'm streaming in different time zones, and things like that. So there really is a benefit to it. I have just tried to work it a certain way for me that works for my physical and mental health and for the benefit of the channel.
Yeah, I think 12 hours is probably about my limit too. I've never tested it. I've done casually like a 10 or 11 hour stream. By the end, I feel pretty damn tired. But if I really wanted to push myself, I think 12 was probably where I would be comfortably while still, I think, putting on a good stream. And maybe if you're in better health or you're younger than I am, you can handle 24. But ultimately, if there's one takeaway for anybody out there who's aspiring to push their limits and do a long stream, it's probably you need to give your limits real consideration. And like that Elheim thing said, like, talk to your doctor, evaluate your own health. If you're not physically fit, if you don't drink a lot of water, if you don't have a lot of veggies in your diet, it might be that it's harder for you. It might be a lot harder for you to do, and you might still want to do it. You might see the other people do it and want to do it yourself, but you got to give it the proper considerations. And that's true of Twitch in general. Like, any time that you're going to take a risk for the sake of entertainment, be very introspective. Look at yourself and say, what am I capable of? What can I achieve? And is it worth maybe sacrificing my well-being?
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, just for people listening, I wasn't trying to say like do those kinds of gimmicks or these really long streams just for the views. I was just like playing devil's advocate to see if there was actually some benefits to those kinds of things. And I think there is, but I think you have just to find the middle ground and what's like good for your stream, good for your growth, and good for your health too.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
All right, and circling back, earlier I mentioned that it was potentially Lyric. It was Lyric. I did find the tweet. I'm not going to repeat his tweet because it's a little bit explicit. All right.
I mean, why not?
Okay.
We can say
here we
it.
go. So Lyric said, and this was on the 28th of August, he said, I've banned approximately 100 subs today. Take your $5 and shove them up your fat ass. Miss one day of streaming this month and I'm the lazy one. Fucking lol. So that's his tweet. And like Alex said, to be in a position where you can ban 100 subs, that's quite a place to be. What's interesting from that tweet is that John Bain, also known as Total Biscuit, responds basically supporting Lyric and just reiterating that he mentions that my subs understand $5 doesn't protect you because that would be me valuing money first. So now, like Alex said, it's a little different when you're in the position to be able to do that kind of thing and you're not having to quite worry about every single sub so much. But I just wanted to review that and confirm that it really was Lyric.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having that type of toxicity in my channel. I mean, even now as a smaller streamer, I don't care if you guys gave me a bunch of crap for taking some days off. I will ban you. Just kidding. No, but seriously, you can't deal with the toxicity. Ultimately, it's going to hurt you more in the end. So
we talked a little bit about this in episode 1 when we were talking about the relationship between streamers and viewers and how that can become strained and how we establish those boundaries. So it's absolutely true that some people who are already successful or they have the financial backing, they have the liberty to do things on their own terms. And I respect that. And really, I think that ultimately is the goal of any streamer who wants to make it, is to have enough financial liberty from streaming that you have the luxury to do that. But it's already hard enough when, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, the fact that when you're going for the streaming lifestyle full time, even if you make it, like, you don't have the things that you would normally expect to have if you're making a comfortable income, like insurance from your employer isn't a given, and a retirement plan, savings isn't given. Like, your employer isn't just magically matching money for you out of the kindness of their heart. So you're missing out on, even if you make it as a streamer, you're not even breaking even. You're missing out on so many things that you might not otherwise have. And so that not only does your lack of access to insurance potentially impact your physical health, but it also really impacts the stress that you're under. Like if you're starting a family, like if you're having a baby and you're going to have hospital fees, usually when that happens, like, you'll see a streamer talk about, oh, we just had a baby, and then people will be super generous and be like, oh, enjoy the baby, and so usually they're fortunate enough that their viewers are able to help them through that. But if maybe you're not that big, maybe you don't have that base of support to kind of help keep you going. Not everybody is so lucky or so privileged. So really, the stress that can come with the grind it can be almost as harmful as the physical stress that you can put on yourself by just running yourself thin, streaming all the time, or putting in the work 24/7 to try to make it happen.
All right, and lastly, we're going to round this podcast out with a discussion about the new trend of official mini retro consoles. As many know, there have been unofficial mini retro consoles for many years, but now Nintendo, with the what was it, the NES Mini, I think, and now the Super Nintendo Mini, have really kind of brought back an official capacity. Now, I saw a little bit of someone opening the British version of the SNES console. And by the way, just so you know, if you guys have never looked at a British or European version of the Super Nintendo, the SNES, it is a thing of beauty, not like your ugly gray brick that you had in the United States. So there you go. Check it out.
Shots fired.
What's that?
I said shots fired.
Yeah, absolutely shots fired, because the gray and purple thing, or mauve or lilac or whatever it was that you had over here, that thing just was ugly. Anyway, that's aside the point. And
Tell us how you really feel, man.
Yeah, I will tell you how I really feel. Now, I believe the new Super Nintendo Mini comes with 20+1 games, is the way they describe it. And I've been doing a little bit of math, and I think that means it comes with 21 games. I'll have to double check that, but I think 20+1 is 21. No, actually, the reason they said 20+1 is the +1 is Star Fox 2. And Star Fox 2 was never actually released, but it is included on the SNES Mini.
So that's interesting. You have to unlock Star Fox 2 on the SNES Mini, I believe. I'm pretty sure I read that.
You do have to get past the first level of the first Star Fox game, or as we would know it in Europe, Star Wing.
Gross.
Yeah, Starwing is a gross name. And also, for your earlier comment, the EU SNES was grey. It was like 2 shades of grey, and it had red buttons on it.
It was a slightly different color gray.
Dude, no, Famicom wins in the Style Wars. Like, the Japanese one, it's got like the red, green, yellow, blue buttons. Oh my god, it's a thing of beauty. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, and that's the one I'm talking about. It was the same design.
But I'm just thankful to honestly have, because emulation has always been an option, like a dubiously like gray area kind of legalish option if you wanted to play the games or stream them, really. And I'm so excited. I don't have like money, like currency with which to acquire one just yet, but when I can get my hands on a Super Nintendo, I can't wait to plug that thing into my capture card and stream like every single game on there. I cannot wait. One of the things that's really cool, like it's got I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but since all the resolution of every Super Nintendo game obviously is 4:3 because of the era from which it originates. Naturally, now that all our displays are 16:9, what we have is you get a selection of overlays, like basically frames to frame the game in. So you get like a bunch of different cool backgrounds you can put right there on top of the game. And of course, like having it rendered very faithfully, you know, pixel perfect and HD, like I'm so pumped. I cannot wait. I want to get my hands on it so bad.
So here's a question. Why would anyone buy this? Now, I never do anything illegal myself, but I've heard through rumors that you can get ROMs and emulators and they don't cost any money and you can get all the games.
Well, yeah. It's a lot cheaper to do that, and it's probably, you can hold a lot more games and everything. Like, it's just basically like, I think people will buy it if, one, they're either Nintendo fanboys, or two, they've got a nostalgia boner. That's basically the only reason why I'd see anyone would buy it, honestly.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking it's got to be a nostalgia factor for sure.
I mean, it is nice, like when you see the little box, because like, so full disclosure, Super Nintendo was like the first console that I had. I was like 5 years old. We had the Super Nintendo. I had Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. It was the best. And seeing that little box on my desk again, like, would be just the greatest joy in my heart. And also not just that, but one that's future proof. You know what I mean? Like it'd be one thing to have, ROMs and emulation, but it's not the same experience as sitting down with a box and that box has got all your little games in it and you play it. And maybe that's like arbitrary or like emotionally driven, but I don't care. Like,
no, I actually do agree. So I was playing a little bit of devil's advocate there because I've purchased a Mega Drive / Genesis 3 times now, I believe. Because every so often I want that original machine back. And there's just something different about having it hooked up to your TV, actually plugging real cartridges in, having the physical boxes. There really is something special about that.
Yeah, to me, it's an aesthetics thing. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the same reason that anybody owns, or to me at least, it's like why anybody would like buy CDs or vinyls. You know what I mean? So you could download a digital copy of the song and you could fit 1 billion of them in your phone and carry it wherever you want and listen to it any time. But people love the aesthetics and like the feel of the disc in your hand, or like the big art on the cardboard, I guess, envelope that it comes in, the sleeve, and then getting to put it on the record player, and like it's just the feeling of it is it's kind of the same way that people have a preference for like with tools or the case that their PC uses, like what case they use, whether it's got a window, whether it's got lighting. For them, it's the feel of how it looks and what it's like having it there in front of you, and the way it feels when you touch it. All those things kind of enhance the experience. It kind of makes it more personal. You know what I mean? Whereas, I could put, any amount of pirated games I want on my computer, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't bring back those same feelings that I had, way back when.
Can I make a really weird analogy?
Yeah, sure.
It's basically like a toasted sandwich maker. Like you buy one, you eat nothing but toasted sandwiches for a week, and then you never touch it again.
I could see that, yeah.
That's how I feel. I know that I'm not Nintendo's biggest fan, but we all have our opinions, and you're all entitled to them. But
I'm not the biggest fan of modern Nintendo, I'll say that.
But at least one thing that I can give the SNES version props for is that it's actually available for people to buy. Unlike the NES one, which completely screwed up.
Well, I hear tell that they're gonna actually do they might do a second printing of the original, the NES one. Because let me see if I can find that interview. It was an interview with Reggie Fils-Aime. He's I know I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. But he is the head of Nintendo of America, basically. And he did an interview with Kotaku, I believe, where he talked about the fact that nobody should have to pay eBay prices to get their hands on an SNES. So what they're going to do is apparently they're going to up production, and the one wave we received very recently, I think it was just a few days ago that it dropped. That wave went out, and there will be more. They're going to keep making them, and I'm really hopeful that means we're going to see some of the NES ones get remade as well, and then maybe eventually when the N64 one comes around, which is that's inevitable. We're going to get the N64 one any day now. I know it. When that finally happens, we won't have to panic to get our hands on it, because we'll know that Nintendo isn't going to screw it up next time. But Nintendo's track record about, making sure the demand is met has not historically been great. So I'm not holding my breath. But if the signs from Nintendo mean anything, it's at least that they're on top of it.
So I have a question. Does it change your opinion, since you said you weren't a big Nintendo fan? Does it change your opinion to know that Commodore 64 is coming out with one next year?
I'm too young to have played any Commodore 64 games, I'm afraid.
You're right, you are. Never
I-
mind.
I have played some of them, but my console growing up was actually the Mega Drive or the Genesis. I did have a SNES at the time. It's literally the only Nintendo console I've ever owned except for a 3DS, which is a handheld.
Long live the GameCube.
GameCube is pretty good.
The
Yeah.
Dreamcast was better. Joking. I feel
Mine-
like I say this like trying not to be biased, right? I feel like this is a good opportunity for Nintendo to get rid of their stigma for like basically making the availability of their products very slim. I feel like this is a chance for them to be like, hey, look, there's actually stuff you want and you can get it. Unlike Amiibos and the other NES Mini and everything else.
They're totally gonna fumble. Just wait. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm not hoping for anything, but it doesn't really apply to me either, so yay? Question mark.
So, Starfish, you talked about a Commodore 64. Did you know, and I'm probably the only person who will recognize this machine, but they are actually bringing out a new version of the ZX Spectrum. So you will be able to live the early 90s, late 80s fun of using a British microcomputer that 99% of the planet are unaware of. So that'll be excellent.
Quick, I'm gonna be straight with you. It sounds like you made that name up.
There were many releases of this home computer. It was back in the microcomputer age with the BBC Micro, the Acorn, all those good classic British microcomputers. But the ZX Spectrum was my first microcomputer, and it's where I first started programming, actually. So it had its own version of BASIC in there, and I created a few games. So it would be interesting to see it.
You would think he made that up, but he's talked about it before. A lot.
I actually know that it exists, so
The guy who invented the Spectrum microcomputer actually also invented a very weird vehicle called the C5. So look that up, the Sinclair C5.
Is that weird little like one-man car that kept tipping over all the time on Top Gear? Or is it a different one?
I'm trying to think. It's this thing kind of looks like a little mini electric bicycle thing. I'll put a picture on the YouTube version.
I actually think I know what you're on about.
Oh my god, I just Googled it. This thing is ugly as sin.
Yeah, I just did the same.
There you go.
Oh.
So he made a microcomputer and that thing.
So it looks a little bit like an 80s computer if you made an 80s computer into a trike.
It's like a tricycle for adults.
It is. Oh man. All right. Do we have any more discussion, I guess, on the topic of mini consoles or retro consoles? And I'm gonna stop flipping coins in a minute.
Someone needs a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I do think there has to be some level of nostalgia there. Like, you couldn't go to last week's games and say, oh, Wii
yeah.
U Mini. Like, that's not gonna work. So it's got to have like some level of nostalgia and be something that's old enough that most people don't still have the real thing.
But I want the Nintendo Switch Mini
Uh,
with its headphone jack missing and an
I,
Apple
I
logo on it.
I think the Nintendo Switch is
Joking.
the Nintendo Switch Mini. Isn't that the point of it? That it can become its own mini?
Game Gear Mini.
Game Gear. Oh yeah, I had a Game Gear.
Imagine a 3DS Mini, like the original 3DS. How they were small to begin with.
I had a Game Gear, and I had this interesting. It had a TV adapter, so you could actually tune in and watch live TV on a Game Gear screen. If you guys have ever seen a Game Gear screen, you can't tell what the fuck you're looking
It's
at.
like it's like the size of like a TI-83 calculator screen or something,
But it was
or
terrible.
smaller even.
Back in the day where everyone had to wear cargo shorts to carry their handhelds around.
All right, we have been PodChamp. That's PodChamp, PodCast on Twitter. Thank you for listening today. I've been Quigabyte with Rux, Alex the Ginger, Starfish, Anchor, and Gigantus. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to our next cast.
See you later.
Later, nerds.
Au revoir.